What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So if you guys follow me over on Instagram or Facebook, you'll probably have seen a couple months ago that I posted some pictures up of some wheels and then a wheel and tire mounted up and then some wheel spacers, and just kind of dropped some hints at the fact that there's a future project coming, and asked you guys to guess what those things were for. If you don't follow me over on Instagram, please do. I post pictures up there of stuff that I've done. There's stuff on there that's not, on the YouTube channel here. But those parts were for a project that I was trying to get started back then in like May, early June, and some stuff with my life came up and I've been really, really busy with other things. So I haven't been able to get started on this project. So now I'm finally starting on it. I went and got the rest of the wheels and tires mounted up yesterday. So now that I've got everything mounted up, I've kind of mocked some things up on the car. I want to show you guys the project, and that project is going to be Project Safari on the E320 station wagon. So I know that this is kind of a thing that's getting popular as people safaring cars that aren't actually like off-roading cars. So I'm running a bigger wheel and tire setup from stock. The stock tires on this car are the same size as the sport package wheels that would come on a E320, whether it's a wagon or a sedan. They're 245/40/18. Those wheels have a farther offset than the factory wheels, so they actually stuck out a little bit more than what the factory sport package wheels would have. These 16s are the same size, diameter, rim, and offset as the factory wheels. So the wheel spacers were to get the wheels to sit out in the wheel well where I wanted them. And then the tires that I chose are going to be Falcon Wild Peak ATs and a 215/65/16. So the original picture that I had posted up on Instagram was a 215/70/16 that I had mounted up, that I had purchased and put on a rim for testing to see whether or not it would fit and what it was going to hit and stuff like that. And when I put it on there, I found out that it was going to end up hitting the ball joint stud for the upper ball joint. So when I mounted that other tire up, it was hitting that stud. This is a 215/65/16. The other one that I had was a 215/70/16. It was a little more, I think a little more than a half an inch taller overall diameter, which you have that number for the height on one side of the tire. So it was like a little over a quarter of an inch larger than this tire here. And because it was that much larger, you can see that there's very, very little clearance in there. It was actually rubbing on the ball joint stud. So I had initially thought to cut that tire down, or cut that ball joint stud down, in order for those tires to clear, but I chose not to do that because I didn't want to compromise the integrity of the ball joint stud. It probably wouldn't have mattered, but I didn't really want to get that far into it at this point in time. So I went with the size smaller. Like I said, overall diameter of the tire is a little more than a half an inch, so I didn't really lose a whole lot. The 215/65/16s are like an inch and a half larger than the 245/40/18s that were on it. So obviously they're much, much larger. And part of that problem with them being larger is going to be me having to cut some things. Now, luckily, nothing in the back of this wheel well actually hits turning. I don't know what's going to happen when I go drive it. It might hit some of the plastic back there. I'll figure it out. But it is pretty obviously up here. As you can see, I've already cut some things out. It's hitting very badly up front in this plastic wheel well trim when I turn full lock to lock either side. So I've cut some out already. I'm going to have to cut some more out in order to get it fit properly or to turn properly. I'm going to go over that today in this video. I'm just going to show you me cutting it out and how much I have to cut out in order to get those wheels to fit. Now, my project, or the reason why I'm doing this project on this car, is because, as you guys probably already know if you follow my channel, this car's been in an accident. It was smashed up in the front. My fender and my door are all smashed in. I have a parts car for this to get this fender, door, stuff like that. The parts car that I have is silver. I don't know that I'm gonna end up painting it. The bumper on the parts car is messed up as well. It's got some cracks and stuff in it, so I'm not gonna be able to use the bumper. I'm gonna take the fender and door off to get that stuff straight again. But my issue with the bumper part of it is the bumper itself is like $300 just for the part, primered, ready to paint. And then it's another $200 to paint it. The trim pieces here are like 50 bucks a piece. The center grill there is like another 50 or 60 bucks. A fog light's like $100. All this bracketry that's on the back of the bumper that holds it in place is like another $100. So it was going to be like $700 plus to fix all of this up here the right way, get it painted, get it looking good. I don't feel like spending that much on this car because this is just my daily driver, kind of a project car, but it's not worth me putting the bodywork money into to get that fixed properly. I don't even know that once I put the door and the fender on, that I'm even going to paint them. It's probably just going to end up staying silver. The one reason why I'm going to do that, at least to get the door on there, is because this door, because it's dented here in the middle, doesn't seal very well up here up top, and sometimes, as you can see, there's a little bit of a gap here in the front edge compared to like the back edge back here. And sometimes when I'm driving, I get some water ingress in there when it's raining, so I want to get that fixed. The door doesn't close very well because it's bent, it hits the fender, so I want to get that stuff fixed just because it's a issue for water ingress into the car, and it's hard to get in and out of the car, but I don't care what it looks like cosmetically. So because I don't feel like spending the money to get this front bumper fixed properly, part of the reason why I wanted to do the Safari project is I think I'm going to work on getting a front bumper set up on this that's like a push bar, like an off-road style bumper that I can mount some lights to, just to get rid of this, but do something different that nobody else has seen on a E-Class station wagon. So that was my idea for all this. That's why I started down this path, is because the car's already messed up. I'm not messing up a good car. Some of my future plans will be, like I said, to put lights. I may do some lights up on the roof rack. I had looked into doing some lights on the back edge of the hood as well. I also was going to do some storage back here in the back of the car over top of where the spare tire well is now, because I actually still use this car quite often to do side work and, you know, mobile repairs and stuff. So I wanted to get some tool organization / storage in the back of here so that I don't have to, so I can work out of the car easier. And then one of my bigger projects that I'm going to have along with the front bumper is I want to get a spare tire mount back here on the back, kind of like a Jeep, where this, I'm going to have a full-size spare mounted up on the back of the car here. And I want to put it on a setup to where it can tilt out of the way so I can still get into the hatch here. So that's going to be one of the bigger projects. I don't know if that's going to require me to take the whole back bumper off, if I can maybe figure out a way to cut something out of the bumper here and fit in there. We'll figure it out. But that's, again, part of the project. Part of this whole thing is I'm going to do all this stuff. I'm going to go over it. I'm going to record it, leave it on the internet, on YouTube for you guys to see, pictures on Instagram, stuff like that. So if you ever wanted to do a Safari build on your E-Class Mercedes, you'll have some information to be able to do it with. So other than that, there may be developments here and there where I do some extra things. Those videos will be thrown in this build series for this video as well. Maybe some interior stuff. I don't know. We'll see as time goes on. Other than that, nothing else that I can go over right now. We're going to continue this video with me getting the car up in the air again and taking these front tires off and working on getting some more of this wheel well trim cleared out until the tires don't hit anymore. So let's get to it. All right, so one thing I can tell you guys, if you don't have one or don't have any of these, get these little things that hold the wheel in. You know, the German cars suck with the wheel bolts, but if you get these little hangers here, I'll put a link in the description at the bottom of this video. These things make life a lot easier. You take one lug nut out, stick this thing in, take the other one out, and then you can just slide the wheel off of this thing. This thing kind of helps hold the wheel up and gives you a way to like center it as you're putting it back on, so you don't have to fight with it. So over here, like I said, you can see that I've already cut some of this out over here. We are going to work on getting some more cut out. You can see that I have a Sharpie line drawn here, and that is where I determined by I cut this out initially because it was hitting this part really, really bad. Like, it was hitting it so bad in this area that it was pushing the whole wheel well liner forward when I had the wheel turn. So it was really hard to see where else it was going to hit because this part was sticking out so much further than everything else. So I cut this part out first, and now what I'm having an issue with now is when I turn, it's hitting and catching this side with the inside edge of the tread on the tire. So I realistically would need to do this much in order to make it turn, but the reason why I drew this box bigger is because I'm thinking about up and down suspension travel while I'm driving. So the part of the tire that's hitting this trim here right now is actually like the apex of the tire, or like the middle part of it that's in center line with the spindle, or like the middle of your brake rotor. If you were to draw a line straight across here, this is where this is the middle of the tire is hitting this. So that's obviously the largest point, is the middle of the tire straight out from the steering spindle in relation to the wheel well liner here. But that's ride height. So what happens when you're driving down the road and you hit a bump? That center line of that tire is going to move up. I don't know how far it's going to move up because obviously I can't watch this as it's driving down the road and see how far up in here this is moving. So I'm going to cut out more than I think it needs, just so I don't ever have an issue with the tire hitting this wheel well, because if it hits this wheel well on one of these jagged edges, what I'm concerned about, because it's a sharp edge instead of being smooth now, where I cut out, is it's going to catch the tire and it's going to rip the whole wheel well liner out. So anytime you see people that their wheel well liner is chilling on the side of the highway, it's because it was hanging loose and the tire grabbed it and ripped it the rest of the way out. So that's what I'm concerned about here. I don't want it to rip this whole wheel well liner up, because it splits up here at the top in the middle, but it still is this whole front half all the way down to here. It's secured to the bumper in the corners here. These two screws down here are holding the front splash shield up. So I don't want it to rip this whole thing out because the tire catches it. So I'm going to get the wheel well out of the way of the tire, so the tire has the ability to move them and down, in and out, turn left and right, and not hit any part of this plastic here. Once I get this figured out and I get the right amount cut out and I know it's not hitting after driving it, I do plan on working out something to mount behind here, like behind this wheel well trim, that still blocks off this area so stuff doesn't get thrown in here behind this bumper, because I still have a fog light there. You still have the underside of your headlight up here. I don't want anything that's in this wheel well to get thrown up into that area, so I'm going to work on getting something to cover this up in the future. But as of right now, I'm just trying to cut it out to figure out how much I need to cut out to get everything to clear. So let's get to cutting. Alright guys, so I got the rest of things cut out. Obviously, when you're cutting things like this, make sure that you know what's behind whatever you're cutting so that you don't accidentally cut through a wiring harness or a fluid line or anything like that. Just look behind what you're cutting. I had already looked through the front up here. I popped the trim out up front and looked in here to see what was back here, and I knew how far away everything was. This thing's a little closer than I thought it was, but it obviously wasn't an issue. I didn't cut in that far anyways. I probably only got about a ½ inch to an inch path through this piece of plastic. So I think we'll be good with this amount cut out here. I got a little overzealous here and cut through this little plastic nut here too. Just be careful when you guys are cutting. I may have to cut up higher than this. I'm not really sure. I hope I don't have to do anything higher than this, because this is actually metal body here, right at that level. So where that nut is, that's actually a metal stud, and there's a body down here. So I'm hoping that this is going to be okay. Like I said, I'm going to figure out if this is good, and if this is a good enough cut, I'm going to work on getting something else put back in here a little bit further back to block all this off so I'm not throwing things into this area. But we got this side cut out. Let's bump over to the other side and we'll get the other side cut out, and I'll get the tires fit back up and we'll see if everything clears. All right, so we got her back down on the ground. I ran it both directions, full turn, lock to lock. It appears as though the cutting that I did has left me with enough room to be able to clear that tire. As you can see, it's not hitting the fender liner anymore, and you can kind of see when you look from here how much it was hitting. It wasn't hitting a lot, but it was definitely going to rub on it, and I'm worried, like I said before, about it pulling the whole wheel well liner out of the wheel well. I may have to do a little bit more trimming down here at the bottom, because the bottom half of that opening that I cut out is a little closer than I'd like it to be. On the other side, it doesn't hit any at all either. I cut out enough area. If you have air suspension on your car, your air pump is in this area up underneath the driver's side headlight. I am definitely going to create some kind of trim piece to cover up these holes that I've cut out of this wheel well liner, because I don't want anything to risk hitting that pump. That pump's about $300 to $400 for, I believe, a reman one, and I think a brand new one's even more expensive, so I definitely don't want to hit that pump and cause any damage to it. So I'm going to drive this around for maybe a day or so and see if that that cutout that I made and that wheel liner is enough that the tires don't rub. I'm going to see if I don't hear anything or don't see any, indication that it's been hitting. If that amount of cutout is good, I'm going to make a box that sits a little bit recessed away from the wheel well liner but mounts to the wheel well liner, so it's part of it. And if I take the wheel well liner out, that box will come with it to protect things, but I still want to leave the tire area to move. So I will do a video down the road when I do that. It's probably going to be in a couple days, next week sometime. Obviously I have another car to drive, so this can stay in my garage in the meantime. So I will do a video on that. Like I told you guys before, there'll be more videos on this car for this Safari build. It's probably going to be the next 6 months of just trickle down videos for this. Once I get the wheel well liner thing sorted out, it's probably going to go back to being my daily driver for a little bit, but I'll be doing things here and there. So if you guys have any questions about this, any questions about this build, please comment down below. I'll be sure to answer any questions you guys have. Other than that, I'll see you later.